Welcome to the S1Ep8 podcast, where every lost step is an opportunity to find ourselves. It has been quite the minute away. A minute feels way more of an understatement because if my memory serves me right, the gap is closing to almost a year. There's been a wish to come back to this spaces and concerned listeners have always wanted to know when I'm coming back. To them I say thank you, because it's been a minute of reflection, experiences that have shaped me as an individual. The question of what I could possibly offer to the podcast passers has reared its head quite a couple of times, and in a way, the doubt and uncertainty has always taken the biggest portion back home. It's the instance that just because I have the voice doesn't mean I qualify, if you catch my drift. Troubled days they were. It has always been a dream of mine to hold conversations in a grand scheme and change the course of lives by bringing voice to the unspeakable, access to the senseless, and most importantly, to fill the shoes of other human beings and watch the world from other pair of eyes other than just mine. So I think it's time we buckle up and let's go on this little journey of the S1Ep8 podcast. So imagine this. There is a shepherd with 100 sheep. One night he comes back to read the pen, but there is something wrong. There are only 99. And in the light of this discovery, he sets out to search for the one lost sheep. Through the isolated night, he keeps on seeking and listening and calling in hope of finding this one sheep. And if we are dedicated members of the Sunday school periods, we are very familiar with how this plays out. In one way or the other, we are the one lost sheep, the one that wandered away, the one that is being called out to find light despite the darkness. And in reflection to that, an idea was born, a space or more of a platform where the issues facing this group of people transitioning to adulthood could be aired out in hope of not writing the clear parts in black and white, but with a desire to put out shared experiences in hope of aiding on walking the proverbial tunnel and coming out at the end of it. In my view, there has been a disconnect between the young years and the grown-up years, where the playground for the young adults has been left to chance. The figuring out of these spaces, the walking of these new paths, the occupants being treated like they came up with the roads. It's a crucial space, and maybe we go back to the days ya kufunzwa na ulimwengu which we all know. It has been created with a lot of unkindness. Who then do we blame? Who do we turn to? Is it a case of rotten fruits because of the wrong seeds? Where is the space of the society in this whole shakedown? Is it safe to say that the ones entrusted are the betrayers? Is it down to perspective? Have the roads of collective responsibility been abandoned? Is too much freedom a meal we should be feasting on? And again, whose responsibility are we? And literally, in these spaces where do these questions exist only in my head? These are some of the questions I dearly desire the answers to. A rare example would be a few days ago, I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and she was stating a clear observations of how the next generation of men are very small and tiny, and to hit the nail on the coffin, the question of how even they will lead the households when the time finally comes popped up. And as a young man myself, it was a discussion that I went in with gusto. It isn't unclear that as a group, we are in crisis. And not just the male gender, it prompted me to clear the few observations. Whenever a man is acting girly, there's always been the observation that the environment growing up consisted of a lot of feminine energy, resulting to the very exhibited results. This made me to conclude that the environment matters, and if the said values expected are nowhere to be found, is it a question of neglect of duties by the young man himself or the environment? The fact that there has been a failure in the roots and absence of favorable conditions cannot be ignored. Where will the fruit of leadership come from when the seeds were not planted? The fact that the family structure has been threatened, with a bigger percentage of families consisting of a single parent, and even among us ourselves, the rise of young women having kids while still living in their parents' home. It isn't in my place to throw shares with this demography, but it's clear to say there's a very big disconnect to the parties at play, and clearly someone is sleeping in the job. While crying foul due to the cards placed at our various tables won't make them more productive, there's a chance reflection might. Reflection builds understanding, and with understanding comes clear vision of the very steps that are needed. The weight of the next generation lies heavily on our heads, and when I say us, I am referring to you and me, a young adult with a desire to admit where the rain started beating us, and hopefully with a plan to collect the rainwater so that we can plant and irrigate the seeds of responsibility and accountability. And I'm curious if you're boarding, because I'm all the way in. There's a notion that the best thing we could do as future parents is to right the wrongs of our own parents, and this comes with the understanding of the wrongs and the admission of the said wrongs, if there were any. And that sort of puts us into place of becoming better people by understanding the faults of those who became before us. I'm in love with bringing conversation to the table. It isn't an individual job, and that's why I beseech you, dear listener, to walk this path with me. A path of discovery, a path of support, a path of voice opinions and experiences, a path of guidance for those who are ahead of us, and a heart to listen and understand, and an understanding approach. Because when we come together, great things happen. It's a quest to the request to put our best foot forward and make sure the wins come home to us. I have been yours thoughtfully, WesMoe the poet, and this is the 1Ep8 podcast.